Welcome into the PHNX Suns podcast, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Linsey Smith here with Espo and Gerald Bourget. Gentlemen, how you doing? Did you enjoy your long weekend?
No.
Not at all.
I was staring at Twitter, and every time my phone buzzed, I thought I was about to have a heart attack and was going to have to run in to do work. No, I did not have a good weekend.
I did. I had a gut feeling. I was like, honestly, I know we're on call, but I only put on makeup one time this weekend. I didn't do my hair until yesterday. I was like, I just don't think I don't think it's going to happen.
I did makeup every day this weekend and nothing.
I mean, I'm sorry. And I meant, when I say I don't think it's going to happen, I meant this past weekend. I still have a little bit of faith that it could happen. I'm not like, oh my God, we're doomed forever. Not full doomsday just yet.
No, not full doomsday, but it is taking an aggravate.
My worst concerning.
Yes, and my worst nightmare is that when we're heading up to Summer League in a few days, it's going to happen while we're on the road,
Well,
and that would be the worst.
I'll be here.
Oh, that's
down the floor.
You will, okay.
And you're passenger. You're riding passenger, so you could just call in and chat with Espo and hope that we get some sort of connection out in that desert.
I'll just do it by myself. Just me shouting, "It happened!" Oh my God, he went to Toronto. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh God, Lord, Espo, don't put that bad juju out in the world. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, but we have something special off the top, right?
Emma, hit the music here. Durant watch. The mood is tense. I've been on some serious reports before, but nothing like this one. Sean Marks is in there. Yeah, Sean Marks, right across the room. I was trying to get an interview with him, but they said, no, that's a GM doing actual GM things in there. He'll rip your actual face off if you go in there. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're making me look stupid, Sean Marks. Make something happen. Come on. That's your Durant. Watch. Day 5. Nothing's happened. We're stranded here. And it's getting weird.
I'm so confused right now.
It's an Anchorman deep cut.
Okay. I haven't seen that movie in a hot minute, so now I need to go rewatch it.
I appreciated it.
Sorry.
It's very close to the original script. I liked it. It's good. It's good.
Fantastic.
The original plan was to have me I wanted to do a green screen with me in front of Barclays Center and pre-film it. But we didn't have time, so I just did this. Tomorrow, maybe, if
I really like your makeshift microphone that you made for this. That was the best part.
It's an actual microphone.
Well, I mean, like, you have an actual microphone in front of you as well.
I had to go handheld. You just got to sell it. So.
Fantastic. Okay, before we start talking, or maybe we should do it after we start talking about all of this, let's just share some of the most recent updates on the Kevin Durant situation, because obviously, as we all know, nothing went down this weekend. So here's Shams with an update on what he's hearing currently about the KD situation.
Answer your first question is Kevin Durant, that's his preferred destination. The Phoenix Suns, from everything I've been told, are his #1 preferred destination.
That's a great.
I think there's a desire to go play with Devin Booker, to go play with Chris Paul.
Real hot.
But they're making moves and they're doing things this offseason with, in their mind, the preparation and operation as if they're bringing these two guys back next season and playing with these two guys. Now, I think they're open in dialogue, and they're open to teams like, Toronto, Phoenix, Miami making offers. But until they get that price threshold met, which I'm told is all-star type players, a boatload of draft picks, they're not going to move. This is what they're telling teams. We're not going to move Kevin Durant until the price is met. And so we'll see how this summer goes. One thing to keep in mind, Pat, these superstar trades. You think about Kyrie Irving when he got traded to the Celtics in 2018.
Hell yeah.
Or I think 2018. You think about, I think that was 2017 actually. You think about when Kawhi Leonard gets traded to Toronto. You think about Anthony Davis getting traded to the Lakers. All three of those trades took 2-3 months to get done. Even the Rudy Gobert trade, when he got moved after the season ended to now, took 2.5-3 months. So this process with Kevin Durant could take a while, but there's no doubt he wants to trade out of Brooklyn, and we'll see how this process unfolds.
Before we get into what Sam said, that was the Pat McAfee show. That, if you're listening, that was the voice. Why does it look like?
He's so wild.
Why does it look like my high Italian uncle at an event with the family, and he's wearing the sleeveless shirt, the gold chain, and saying nonsense?
He's just
during whoa, man. He's like
James Harden.
Yeah, it was like if the Brian Windhorst thing was like completely done by like a toddler that knew nothing about basketball. Whoa, Kevin Durant, James Harden, yeah, man.
I feel like that's what guys when I was in college looked like at the bar after too many vodka Red Bulls.
Yeah, Linsey. Yeah. Why don't we go to another bar, huh? Like
just,
I don't get it. What was that?
He's just like randomly interjecting random words that he picks out from what Shams was saying.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no, obviously, I mean, this feels like more posturing to me. It feels like the Nets are saying no one's meeting our demands yet, so we're going to put out that we're willing to come back next season with this group. But like, you look at it, the owner and Kyrie don't get along. They don't like each other. Like, KD has requested a trade, so even though he's under contract for 4 years, he is a type of superstar that has that leverage to force his way out. And the longer you keep him, the more toxic that situation gets. And like, what are you running it back with? Kyrie and KD, sure, but like Ben Simmons is your third best guy. You lost Bruce Brown over the summer in free agency. You made a weird trade with a first rounder for Royce O'Neal. Like, to what end are you running it back? I don't buy that for a second. It feels like an attempt at getting back some leverage in a bad situation for Brooklyn, but I do think it could take longer than we're hoping for this one. James Harden.
I understand the reasoning behind why it takes so much time to get a deal like this done, because of course, yeah, I'm sure Brooklyn has like, here's the bottom line of what we have to get back in a trade situation like this. But then also, when you take into consideration all the rumors that came out late last week about Brooklyn not being interested in DA at all, now you likely have to get a third team involved in order to make all of these moves work and satisfy all the teams that are involved, leaving them feeling like they're not getting the short end of the stick, right? So it makes sense that a lot of this stuff is going to take time. And the interesting thing too, which we'll talk about all these guys here in just a little bit, is that all of these teams are still making sidebar moves while still discussing this big, hopefully blockbuster kind of trade situation that's going to go down with KD and the Suns and whomever else gets involved.
But first of all, I love Pat McAfee's football takes. I was making fun of his basketball. Let's
Sure.
make that clear before the chat loses his mind. But yeah, I agree. It's total posturing. This is the Nets didn't like that they were caught off guard by this, which it surprises me that it seems like they were, because there had been hints of this going on. But, I think it was the double whammy of Kyrie actually opting back in, and within 12 hours, the report coming out that KD wanted out. They're scrambling to try to act as if they're in a position of power. They're trying to be the fake tough guy that, yeah, you have to meet our demands, where really all this takes is Kevin Durant saying, I'm not going to this other city, so stop asking about me. There's one place I'll go, and they lose all leverage whatsoever. And I'm sure they didn't like the fact that they didn't want DA getting out there publicly too. That probably frustrated him. But look, if this takes 2 to 3 months, like Shams kind of insinuated, I'm going to look like freaking Tom Hanks in Castaway talking to Spaulding sitting here on this couch, just losing my ever-loving mind if we have to deal with this for 2 or 3 months. And you think it's bad that there's no free agents left right now? Imagine if you've been in a holding pattern for 2 to 3 months. Not good.
I just can't imagine it taking that long.
No.
Honestly, it doesn't make any sense.
I think one key date that the Suns probably have in mind coming up is the end of the moratorium period. I think it's July 8th is when you can officially, or is it July 6th? It's either July 6th or July 8th where you can officially start signing guys to deals that aren't on veteran minimum contracts. So at that point, that's when another team could slip DA an offer sheet and really throw a wrench in the works here, because at that point, the Suns would have 24 hours to match as soon as he officially signs that deal. And that makes it really hard to pull off a Kevin Durant trade if that happens. So I think the Suns are probably going to be working against the clock here. Maybe there is no suitor for DA, because we've talked about this multiple times over the last few weeks. A lot of his potential teams that would want to give him a max have kind of dried up. The Pistons don't have the cap space anymore, and they drafted Jalen Duren. The Pacers are still looming there, but a sign and trade would make more sense. Hawks, same deal. Raptors, same deal. It would only make sense as a sign and trade. Maybe the Spurs are another team that could sign him outright to a max offer sheet, but he just doesn't have that many suitors. If one emerges, though, that really pretty much puts a kibosh on this whole thing.
Look, it's June 6th at 12:01 Eastern, which means it's tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So when the moratorium lifts. So
July.
Or did I say June?
Yeah.
July 6th, 12:01 Eastern, which means 9:01 tonight here in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
The moratorium's lifted. Now, I feel like if there was going to be somebody that was going to offer a max or an offer sheet to DA, we probably would have heard something by now, that something would have come out. So I don't know if that's going to happen right away tonight, that somebody will make him an offer. But you're right, that becomes a bigger worry throughout this. Today, everybody's talking nationally about how Toronto is the hot name in the pursuit of Kevin Durant. But if KD says, Toronto, I don't want to go there, you got to wonder, do they become a third team in this? Could there be a piece that moves where, Scotty Barnes' name's been thrown out? Is there some way that DA goes there, Scotty Barnes goes to the next, KD comes here? Obviously, a lot of other elements would have to happen to make things work, but those are the kind of things you have to kind of go through the smoke right now and understand what the hell all this is. And to me, the Toronto thing is national media going, well, we need to extend this story. We need to stretch this out. We need another team to talk about. We can't keep going over the options between Phoenix and Miami. So let's bring up Toronto today.
Well, I think it's just speculation because, like you said, there's not a lot to talk about. Free agency has basically been put on hold until this Kevin Durant domino falls. And to their credit, like, the Raptors could put together a very good deal for KD if he expanded his list of preferred destinations to Toronto. You never know. They were successful in doing that with Kawhi, who wanted to go to LA, and they won a title with him. So they have experience in this regard, and it would make sense in that asset. But like, as of right now, all we've heard about are Phoenix and Miami as far as where he would like to play. Miami would have a really hard time making it work. The Suns could technically make a 1-for-1 deal work financially, even with base year compensation rules. It's just difficult because of the financial side, and apparently the Nets don't want DA. So that's where we start looping in these third teams like the Jazz, like the Raptors, like the Hawks, all these different options that we've talked about. I don't know. You could definitely get it done if you want to. I think there are a lot of moving pieces, though. There's a lot of parties that need to be satisfied by what happens here. So I think they're probably haggling over that because DA, if he agrees to a sign and trade, he has to agree to be going to whatever team he's being sent to. KD wants to come here. The Nets have to be compensated. The third team that's getting DA has to not give up too much, but they're getting what they want back. It's a lot of moving parts you have to balance there.
Yeah, and you bring up the Kawhi thing, and I think the difference here is Kawhi had 1 year
left.
So he could go, yeah, I'll take a flyer year in Toronto.
For sure.
And if we do something, great, it'll up my value. I'm not going to go to LA. Win-win. Where you're looking at it and KD has 4 years left on this.
It's a big difference.
I think it's a very big difference because there's not – and he really can't feasibly pull the demanding a trade out of that next city without taking a huge hit to his legacy, which seems very important to him based on the way he reacted to national media calling him out for chasing a ring with the Warriors.
Sure.
Well, and you also have to think about Brooklyn's situation too, because I know a lot of people are like, well, you know, Brooklyn is basically the driver in this situation. They have all the leverage, which, yes, they technically do, but you also have to weigh the pros and cons when you're an organization. How bad does this make my organization look to other superstars down the road?
Mm-hmm.
If I muck something up with a guy like Kevin Durant, who wants to go to Phoenix and is adamant about going to Phoenix, and I trade him to whomever else, whatever other team, does that scare away potential superstars from coming and playing for the Nets down the road? Yeah. That's always the tough line that you have to balance, because it is a business and it's on both sides, right? Like, players, when asking for trades and things like that, have to do the exact same thing. Like, how does this potentially harm my career in the future?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough situation for everyone involved. So I completely understand why it's taking such a long time to get done. But there's another theory out there, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this one.
This is our boy putting on a tinfoil hat like I did last week.
So Kendrick Perkins thinks essentially that KD asking for a trade was not him truly wanting to be traded, but to create a scare tactic, if you will, to get the Nets to offer Kyrie a longer-term contract. Do you believe this?
So Perk's thought here is KD is the horrible boyfriend that basically threatens on leaving the relationship to try to get something else out of their partner. I think this is insane. And the way the offseason's going, completely plausible.
Yeah. I don't know. Based on what I've heard from somebody close to the situation, like, KD and Kyrie are not opposed to playing together again next year. It's more kind of them versus the organization itself, management, that type of deal. But like, I just don't see that being the case at all. This isn't a leverage play. And if it is, like, it's the most elaborate leverage play I've seen in a while.
I love it.
It's too much.
I love it.
But if it was a leverage play, wouldn't he have gone to Sean Marks and not the owner? Like, why go to Sai if you're just trying to leverage a deal for Kyrie? I don't buy that. That's the part I can't. It doesn't make sense. And going into this whole, I'm gonna grind free agency to a halt for trying to convince them to give Kyrie an extension. That's fairly implausible to me. But from the NBA is basically one giant soap opera and basically a whole reality show. I totally think that this could be a storyline that would play right into that. But God, if that's what happens, how used the Suns fans feel. It's like the dating show where you go out with the other girl just to piss off the one you're with. Like, why would we do this?
Look, I think Kevin Durant's a smart guy. I think he's capable of looking around Brooklyn, looking at the last year that he spent with Kyrie, looking at how his friend James Harden literally forced his way out of Brooklyn to get out of that situation. I think he sees the writing on the wall. This team isn't going to win a title. They don't have the means to do it. Ben Simmons isn't the answer. Kyrie only played in half their games last year because of his own stubborn choices. Like, I think he wants out legitimately. And I think the fact that we've heard from Chris Haynes, Woj, and Shams have mentioned that he wants to come to Phoenix, he wants to play with Devin Booker, I'm buying that. I think he does. I think that is the case. I can't dive this far into conspiracy theory territory personally.
I think it's hilarious, but I'm with you. Oh, there's no way that this is actually what's happening. I feel like, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. The math ain't mathin' in my brain when it comes to this, like, theory. Yeah. Okay, so while I find it entertaining and I think it's hilarious, I don't think it's genuine at all.
Why would Durant put himself in a position to take more heat to where he's not a big fan of the criticism? If this is all a ploy to get Kyrie signed, that criticism is just going to amplify with all that. So I don't believe it. But as we get more days going, you get antsier and antsier as a
Yeah.
Suns fan, and you listen to all these and you go, well, maybe that's plausible. Like there's one, I think it's Scoop B saying this is all a ploy because they fired 2 assistant coaches in Brooklyn that Durant and Kyrie really like, and this is all leverage to try to get them back on Steve Nash's staff. Like, usually the simplest answer is the right answer. Kevin Durant doesn't want to be there, and he has the Suns at the top of his list. I think that is where we're sitting right now. And the Nets are trying to scramble to do anything, probably to get Mikal Bridges as part of the deal or find a 3-team deal that gets them even more, on top of everything that the Suns can offer.
Yeah, and let's be honest, they're trying to restore Kyrie Irving's trade value right now too, because the only team that really seems to want him are the desperate Lakers, who are desperate for anybody at this point and to get rid of Russell Westbrook's contract. So they're trying any way that they can to kind of bump up those trade offers. This is it.
Well, if you guys want to put some money down on the action, right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, the Suns are a -110 to be the next landing spot for Kevin Durant. The Toronto Raptors are a +350, and then Brooklyn is also a +350. And every other team that is listed as an option is a +1,400 or higher. So based on, and I'm sure a lot of this is movement based on what the media is sharing and insiders are sharing with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. But you can get on the action right now if you'd like to. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code PHNX when you sign up. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 when you use that promo code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Did you guys see the UFC fight this weekend? Did you watch it?
Nope.
It's fantastic. So great. The undercards are actually way better than the main event. The main event was kind of boring.
I feel like that happens a lot.
It does, because it's always, there's smarter fighters, more cautious. I get it. But it was really fun. But my guy coming out with the hat and the urn was like greatest thing ever. Oh my gosh. I was like, you're my person. You find the same humor that I find.
I saw that tweet and I was like, damn, Linsey stepped up her Twitter game for this weekend. All right. This must have been a big moment to her.
It just happened to be something she really enjoyed.
Yep.
How could you not? It was so funny.
It was
so funny. I was like, I got to use this somehow.
So you were talking about the odds.
Yeah.
And it made me remember the last time I was at Summer League was the year that Paul George got traded to the Clippers, and it blew everybody's mind. And it happened on a Friday night at Summer League.
Oh boy!
And everybody was at the club, and or out drinking, and everybody was like, "What the hell is going?" I pictured that Friday night. Like it's gonna be the least opportune time for us at Summer League that they're gonna announce that Kevin Durant's been traded, and it'll be the craziest emergency podcast you've ever seen. Is my guess.
Fingers crossed. That would be
Everybody's
wild.
gonna be drunk except for me. It's gonna be insane, pure insanity. Stay tuned. Make sure you follow on our Twitter account or turn on notifications on YouTube.
Exactly.
So you don't miss any of the action. Okay, so while we were waiting, and still are waiting for Kevin Durant news to come through, the Suns haven't been completely dead in the water. They've been making some moves on the side. We already mentioned this, but, Bismack Biyombo came back. He's re-signed with the Suns. They made that officially official today in a press release. But there are also 3 additional guys that the Suns were able to pick up. So we'll kind of go through them. Gerald, I know you wrote about these guys at gophnx.com. So if anybody out there listening wants to get real deep down and dirty and get all the inside information on these guys, check that out. But let's start with Damion Lee. He's a 29-year-old forward/guard who spent the past few years with the Golden State Warriors. He signed a 1-year deal at the vet minimum. So that's $2.1 million roughly. Solid player, knows his role, works hard. What do you guys think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, he's an NBA champion. He's coming off a championship run with the Warriors. And
let's go.
And he, admittedly, he was a bench guy. He was probably like the 10th man, but he still did play about 20 minutes a game during the regular season. He had a down shooting gear, which is kind of, I think, the reason they were able to get him. I mean, he would have been a minimum guy no matter what, but like the reason they were able to kind of poach him from the Warriors, who are have been intent on bringing back as many guys as they can. He only shot 33.7% from three, but the 3 years prior, he was good for them. He was a great spot-up shooter. He's a guy that has definitely learned from his brother-in-law, Steph Curry, as far as moving off the ball, off screens to free himself up for shots. He's good at relocating on the perimeter with some shallow cuts and things of that nature. He's a pretty good cutter. He finishes well at the basket, even though he doesn't get there very often. You're probably going to see him take a lot of spot-up threes. I think he was assisted on about 83% of his baskets, and I think about 90% of his threes were of the catch-and-shoot variety. So definitely a shooting guard that can help them, especially on a minimum contract. Expectations shouldn't be high. He's not going to make or break their season one way or the other, but he is a guy that will help with getting through 82 games of regular season basketball. He knows his role. He's a good locker room guy, brings some athleticism, and he's a good defender. So not a bad pickup.
Do we trust that he's not a Trojan horse? Like this isn't Steph going, look, you're my brother-in-law. You got your ring. Now I need you to do me a solid.
We need to know where his allegiance lies.
Yes.
Well,
is it with the Suns or is it with his family?
Yeah.
You got to pick one, man.
You got to pick.
We got to make that clear.
Which family is the family?
Yeah, you never go against the family. Whichever one you pick, you don't go against it. But look, this guy screams Abdel Nader replacement to me on the roster. Like a guy that Monty will fall in love with, that will get minutes even, that will get, minutes even if he hasn't fully earned them. But a guy that could hit some of those three-pointers that you hope for. I don't mind this one. This one I think makes sense to take a flyer and see what you can get out of him. So
yeah, I mean, the 3 years prior to last year's kind of down shooting season where it just felt like he missed a lot of shots, he ranked in the 70th percentile, 90th percentile, and 94th percentile on spot-up points per possession. So a guy that when he gets his spot-up looks, he usually makes the most of them. Hopefully last year was just kind of a down year in that regard. But he is 29, so he's not going to get a lot better. But you're hoping with, being in a winning environment in Golden State, coming to another winning team like the Suns, Monty will be able to find a way to utilize him off the bench.
Yep. All right, next up, we've got Jock Landale.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 26-year-old Australian center who joins the Suns via trade with the Atlanta Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Suns had to give up was some cold, hard cash.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's going to make $1.6 million this year, and he'll be a restricted free agent next year. What do you guys think about this move?
RIP cash considerations.
I want to know how much they paid.
How depressing would that be to find out what your value is openly? Like, well, they paid $100,000 to get me. Like,
yeah.
Some sad number. Like mine would be
he's still making almost $2 million.
Mine would be like Bright Side of the Sun paid $25 and a Subway coupon, kind of thing. But anyways,
they paid that much?
Yeah, I mean, it's an overpay. I mean, it's a serious.
Shots fired.
But you wrote a great article on Jock. I really enjoyed reading through that and looking at the clips. I'm marginally excited here about what this guy could do as the second or third string center.
Right. And people need to adjust their expectations because I'm seeing in the chat talking about Lee and Landale. Nobody's excited. I get it, but they're veteran minimum signings. Like these are 10th, 11th, 12th guys who can help in limited minutes. They're not going to change the course of your season. And they've got bigger fish to fry with Kevin Durant right now. So adjust your expectations.
As a lot of the people in the comments are also bringing up, usually when you're adding a bunch of veteran minimum guys, you're targeting somebody who requires a lot more dollars.
Right. You need bodies because players are going to be going out in a potential trade. That's what
hopefully this is a precursor to all of that going down.
But even if they're not, I was impressed with what I saw from Landale limited film. He only played about 10 or 11 minutes a game for the Spurs last year. But this is a very motivated guy, an Australian guy who went to St. Mary's, went undrafted, played overseas for a few years, and spent that time honing his game, trying to add a three-point shot so he had a discernible NBA skill. He talked about how pissed off he was that he didn't get drafted and wasn't given a spot in the NBA. And he played well in his one season for the Spurs last year. He's a guy that loves to pop out to above the break threes. Those were kind of his specialty. And he only shot I think under 33%. But if he had just made 7 more threes, he would have been a 40% shooter. So these are very small sample sizes we're working with in his case. But he's a good fit for the 0.5 offense in his limited role. He's a guy that can put the ball down, move it from side to side. Monty talks about connectors like Dario Saric and Frank Kaminsky. He's another guy that can do that. He's not like some highlight reel passer, but he knows when to make the extra pass, where to move the ball. And he's good in the pick and roll as well. He's a smart, kind of crafty player that helps make up for his lack of leaping ability and athleticism. He's strong too. He loves contact. He'll finish through contact. And he's got some nifty kind of post moves. He's able to operate in a crowd a little bit with that dribble. Nothing fancy, but able to get the ball up at least and get the job done there. So he's not going to be your starting center. He might not even be your backup, but in limited minutes, he's a guy who can maybe throw off the scouting report when he pops out for 3, maybe do a couple of smart basketball things that'll fit in well with Monty's system.
Yeah, he seems to me the Frank Kaminsky replacement in terms of it. But I really liked what I saw based on what you were writing. Like you said in the piece, he's no Hakeem Olajuwon, but he will get things done down low. And I have this guy pegged as the irrational fan favorite this year. Yeah. The guy that everybody's like, Jock needs more minutes. This guy could be great.
Right.
The Jalen Smith kind of guy, where, people just get really irrationally tied to him. But I think that'll be for good reason. I think he'll be able to do that pick and pop. I like what I see. He's not going to be the greatest defender, but he's going to hustle, and he's going to do things that fans like. And we know they complain about big men not liking contact here and not being willing to dunk. Well, I feel like we're not going to have that problem with him. So
and defensively, you don't want him out on the perimeter all too much, but on the interior, he's actually surprisingly good. He's not a guy. He only blocked 14 shots, which I think out of 203 players that guarded at least 130 shots at the rim, his 14 blocks ranked 180th out of those 203. So he doesn't get you a lot of blocks, but he did hold opponents to 11% worse shooting at the rim when they were guarded by him. So that stat is imperfect because of tracking data, but I mean, that's a pretty impressive number. He's a guy that will make you uncomfortable shooting those shots, and he's a good kind of positional defender in that way.
I love that he's also willing to admit he's not athletic.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Listen, self-awareness is the first step to making sure that you're not a liability, okay?
Right.
It's important. I've seen a couple of people in the chat kind of bring up losing JaVale McGee and how we're not talking about that enough, and that was kind of a big loss. And somebody had mentioned that they hope it wasn't a locker room issue and was just him chasing the money. And if I was a betting person and there was a place that I could bet on this, it's 100% the money. Like, yeah. JaVale spoke very highly of this organization in the locker room and all the guys and people around this team all season long. I cannot imagine that the only factor in him signing with the Mavs was, I want to get away from the Suns. Pretty sure that money was a huge factor because wasn't it like 20 mil?
No one was offering him 20 mil or 3 years.
Right.
Like they offered him a 3-year deal. Like, and he got the bag. Like he got 20 million over 3. That's better than what the Suns were going to offer. That's better than what anyone I think was going to offer. A couple of days before that, he was gushing at his charity softball event about how much it meant to him that so many guys from the Suns made it out to that game, that the community turned out. He was pouring out his love for kind of Phoenix and just this whole situation. So, and he said our camaraderie in the locker room is the best in the league. It's better than anywhere in the NBA. So, maybe that's just pandering to the fans at a happy event, but at the same time, he was pretty consistent with that all season long.
But he didn't have to say it.
No, he doesn't have to say it.
He could have just been like, yeah, it was cool that they all showed up and left it at just as simple as that.
Right. It was the money. They gave him a lot of money, and he has the opportunity to be either the starter or a high-end backup there.
Can I play devil's advocate? Oh, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm not asking for your
Here we go.
permission. But when we always saw those videos of that pregame, whatever you want to call it, dance party, whatever they were doing in the hall there, rarely, if ever, did you see Book really taking part. CP3 usually wasn't taking part. It doesn't seem like a real Monty thing. I kind of wonder if like, well, they may miss JaVale the guy. I wonder if they won't miss those kind of things pregame and those what some people would call antics. I enjoyed it, but I kind of wonder if that doesn't fit the style they're trying to bring. Because
Linsey's face. I think on the Monty front, maybe that's the thing because we had asked him about Mikal Bridges and DA and campaign, the way they dance pregame and warm-ups, and when they would grab the broomstick or whatever and sing into it before the game. And he mentioned look, there's a difference between fun and goofy and not being focused, that type of thing. So we kind of pushed back on that side of it. But the pregame stuff, I mean, that kind of helped fire him up. And Book and Chris weren't involved, but they were laughing the whole time. Like they were kind of the cool kids at the back of the class watching the class clown do their work. So I don't
think that's just their individual personalities. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's them not approving of anything.
Yeah.
From Monty's perspective, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. If you genuinely think that is a huge issue, I'm just gonna call you a wet blanket.
Yeah.
Just
I don't
straight
think
up.
It's a huge issue.
No. I'm just in general. Yeah. In general, if you genuinely think guys being excited and getting hyped up before going to play a game is a problem, lighten up.
I will say the dancing pregame during warm-ups with your opponent right there might have been a step.
That's
too
another
far,
stretch, a little bit. I can see that.
But I didn't in the tunnel. That's you and your teammates getting hyped. I don't care. I don't care what you do. But it always just struck me as such a contrast in styles between what we viewed Book and CP3 as before JaVale got here and the way he handled it. And Rick, in the chat, he says, Rick, think Espo is against fun. I'm not against fun.
Yeah.
I just simply was taking the other side and exploring it. All right.
Yeah, that will hurt them, though, to the original point about us not talking about it enough. Losing McGee definitely hurts during the regular season because in the playoffs, we saw he was borderline unplayable. In that drop coverage, teams are going to shoot threes on you to death and kind of play you off the floor. But he was really big for them during the regular season, keeping DA's minutes down, being really, really productive in his limited time. He was a per 36 minutes god, as he usually is. So losing him is definitely going to hurt. You're hoping that Bismack is able to step up to the plate, Jock Landale, and that you're able to kind of cover that spot by committee. But it is concerning, especially with DA's future uncertain. You're going to need to get a center back if he's involved in a Kevin Durant trade because your options on the market are pretty limited right now.
I'm going to bring up a comment from the chat and just kind of leave it here. I don't want anybody to react to it, but Joel says money has the personality of a sloth. So take that as you will, if you want. So
I feel like sometimes our comments are so outrageous, but they're hilarious.
I mean, I
love you guys.
Monty will be the first to tell you he describes himself as boring very frequently, so he would probably agree with that, honestly. Maybe not a sloth, but he would agree he's boring.
Joel both did that well done, and it was well said. Yeah. So congratulations.
Oh, my God. Okay, next guy that the Suns have picked up, Josh Okogie. He's 23-year-old guard, played for the Timberwolves, and he'll be getting paid $2 million. What do you guys think about this one?
Very good pickup for a veteran minimum signing. This is the one of the three guys that I haven't written about yet. That'll be up tomorrow. But the biggest reason that he was available for this price, he cannot shoot the three ball to save his life, at least in games. I've heard reports from people talk about how he's really good in practice, how it looks like he can knock down threes, but that's most of these guys, unfortunately. Yeah. You need it to translate to the NBA, and it hasn't yet.
Who was the guy that Lance Blank, this may have been prior year tab covering it, but Lance Blank said he's the greatest practice shooter ever seen. It was one of the Zeller brothers.
Big fan of that.
So,
that's a rough compliment to give anybody.
But he was saying it as if he's like, I found this amazing player. He shoots better than anybody in practice.
I'm the best practice podcast host there is.
It's spectacular. You should hear Gerald.
You should hear our dry runs. They're phenomenal. But look,
they are. Our dry runs are great.
Our pregame stuff is great. But no, he's a 27.5% career three-point shooter, which is awful. He's never cracked 30% in his first 4 seasons in the league. And that's kind of the reason that teams or that the Timberwolves have not been able to leave him on the floor. He is a really tough, gritty, multi-positional defender, and he only turns 24 in September. So he's still very young. He's still moldable. Maybe you get him in this system and he's able to knock down a couple of three-pointers, because keep in mind, Torrey Craig, not a great three-point shooter. He puts on a Suns jersey. He's at least passable. That's all the Suns really need him to be, to give him rotation minutes, potentially playoff minutes. But for a veteran minimum contract, like, that's kind of all you can ask for.
Well, and at 24, he's a guy that's actually started a lot of games too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he's in Minnesota. At one point, they looked at him as a big part of the future. And then Chris Finch, when he took over, he slowly kind of limited his minutes. He was a starter at the beginning of the year for Minnesota last year. So I give him I'm interested to see. Like, he's a 3-and-D guy minus the 3, which is not ideal, but if you can get him passable, all of a sudden he could become that stopper for you. And, if you do have to include a Mikal Bridges, it may be a guy that you have to lean on defensively at times if you have offense taken care of by a big 3. So.
Right. He's a very that signing was kind of the one that I looked at like, okay, they're kind of hedging their bets for who might be heading out in this deal, because he is very much a point of attack defender. He's the guy that you will put on their best perimeter guard wing option out there. So a little bit concerning if you're in the camp that like they need to do everything in their power to keep Bridges, which I think we all are. But again, for a minimum signing, like, this is about as good as you're going to get on the veteran minimum.
Yeah, I mean, it's $2 million.
Right.
Like, it's not something to, if he ends up being a liability and he's not playable, okay, it's $2 million.
Right.
It's not like we went and gave somebody $15 million to do nothing.
Those vet minimums don't count against the cap, right?
No.
So it's really, hey, we're getting a guy that if it doesn't work out, doesn't matter. If it does, hey, we got a huge bargain here, which I think makes a lot of sense. It also is the kind of move that you have to make right now, because you have to prepare if this deal goes down, and you can't take any big swings right now. So I think this is about as good as you could do in the situation the Suns are in.
Well, and you told us before the show, sorry if I missed this when I was having my coughing fit, but you have a friend at Minnesota who basically said, like, hey, this guy's a really stand-up good guy. You're going to love the person that he is.
Oh, yeah. He said he was one of his favorites that he had worked with in Minnesota, and that, yeah, he's a guy that I said, so good guy to everybody, not just good teammate. He's like, he's an unbelievable guy to everybody. And that you can never have enough of those guys in your organization. He's not going to be a guy that's problematic, even if he doesn't play like he didn't in the back half of the year for Minnesota.
And it's cool. As soon as Shams tweeted out the deal, he like quote tweeted it, and he's already interacting with Suns fans. So he's excited to be here, I think. And that kind of just backs up everything you were saying.
Wouldn't you be excited that you didn't have to wear that god-awful highlighter green that Minnesota has?
I would just be so excited not to have to be in freezing cold weather.
Yeah, he's like, wait.
Through basically the whole season.
I'm not going to say anything lest my Minnesota-born girlfriend is watching this pod.
I'll say something. He's probably happy he doesn't have to walk through glass sidewalk, enclosed sidewalks to get anywhere in the months of November till March. I'm sure he's happy.
She told me at her college campus they have tunnels underground, so you don't have to go outside. That, like, actual Gophers, like, that blew my mind.
Wouldn't you think it'd be even colder though underground? Isn't that the whole idea of having a basement?
Well, I would assume it's probably like heated or something.
I mean, I would hope so.
But, I mean, when it's a blizzard in Minnesota,
but wouldn't it cost more money to heat the basement?
Probably, but I think it's like unwalkable to like walk between buildings during certain months there. I don't know.
Guess so. That does make sense. All right, up next, we've got something. Everyone's favorite day of the week is coming up. But first, I want to remind you guys that our PHNX Coyotes crew Draft Day live party is happening this Thursday, July 7th at 4 p.m. over at Four Peaks 8th Street Pub. You guys should plan to join all the crew down there. Pretty much, Espo, you're going to be there because you're coming out to Summer League a little bit later that evening.
I fly in at like midnight to Vegas, which in Vegas isn't bad. But yeah, I'll be out there hanging out with the Coyotes group from about 3 until the first round's over. So come on out. If you come say hi to me, maybe I'll even buy you a beer.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, enjoy all the different beer that Four Peaks has to offer. Also, they have really great food. I saw you posted on Instagram the other day. We were at Four Peaks last Wednesday, and Gerald and I both got the chicken strips. But then you were back on Friday?
And I got the
chicken strips
yeah,
because they are that good. I don't know what it is about Four Peaks chicken strips, but they are so bomb.
Well, they're like fried like fish would be, but on the outside.
Yeah,
they're so good.
super crunchy, super juicy. The fries are also really delightful, and they have a bunch of different sauces if sauces are your thing.
That Chipotle ranch is very good.
I think I'm going chicken fingers and that beer milkshake.
There you go.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Oh, it was spectacular. It was really good. So
okay.
That'll probably be my Thursday evening meal.
So come hang out with all of the PHNX Coyotes crew once again, July 7th, 4 p.m. at Four Peaks Brewery. Just a reminder, though, you have to be 21 or older to enjoy their beer, and we ask that you enjoy responsibly. Okay, it's Trade Machine Tuesday time.
Trade Machine Tuesday, Trade Machine Tuesday.
I hate Trade Machine Tuesday.
We need to get that,
I hate
that
it so
gift
much.
to come up every time we say
Trade Machine Tuesday.
Okay, so do you guys want a GIF every time it comes up, or would you want the audio playing the entire
audio.
time while you guys
not
are
the
doing
entire
Just a clip.
time. I'll go insane, but
And that would make everybody be like, all right, I'm leaving right now.
a couple times, yeah.
Emma, you just need to have that on cue, and anytime we want to just get Linsey, we'll just cue it up.
Guys,
Every
I
day
can get
be
it in
Tuesday.
less than 5 minutes. I can get it in less than 5
It's
minutes.
fine. We'll work on it for next Tuesday.
Maybe to close the segment.
No,
There's no
I'll
more
get it for you,
Tuesday.
Linsey. I got you.
All right, so Gerald, you put together a 3-team trade with Utah, the Nets, and the Suns, correct?
Ooh.
I did, yes.
Spicy.
So this was because we had brainstormed a different Utah trade, I think, last week. This was kind of an updated one, just playing with some different things. So in this potential deal, the Suns get Kevin Durant and they get Jordan Clarkson from Utah. The Nets get Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, Landry Shamet from the Suns, as well as Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt from the Jazz. They also get 5 first-round picks total, 1 from Utah because they just got a bunch in the Rudy Gobert trade, and 4 from the Suns unprotected, and then 2 pick swaps with Phoenix in those other years. And then the Jazz, they get DeAndre Ayton, Cam Payne, and Day'Ron Sharpe from the Nets. So thoughts on that potential deal?
The only kind of 3-way allowed in Utah, and I'm liking it.
Oh my God.
I'm digging this. I think that this is the kind of thing that gets this deal done. You might have to try to convince Utah to put in an additional pick, because my guess is, when Brooklyn's looking at it, they're going to want a bigger haul than Rudy Gobert went for, which was 7 picks, right? Didn't include pick swaps in that, but I think we're getting close here. The big one to me is, does DA actually want to sign there, and how much money are they going to offer him? Like, this is, I wonder if that's part of the holdup, is how do we get DA where he feels comfortable? And I'm not sure. I'm really not, if that's the holdup here. So
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of this one.
you like this one?
Yeah, I do. Honestly, I feel like Brooklyn's getting a decent package back for what they're giving up. I'm not mad at Jordan Clarkson for the Suns. And I feel like the Jazz are getting a fair deal in the situation as well.
Yeah, for the Nets, like, obviously the big pieces are Cam Johnson, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. They're younger wings that can help you if you're trying to win next year, or
But
that can help
also
you
a
rebuild.
You know what? Ton of picks,
But
too.
the ton of picks is the main asset here. You're getting 5 picks, and you're getting 2 pick swaps on top of that. Like Espo said, maybe you have to throw another one on top of that from Utah. But if you're Utah, do you want to give up, 2 new guys that you just traded for on top of Clarkson, on top of 2 first rounders for DA, campaign, and let's be honest, Sharpe is not really a guy that'll probably play much. I don't know. Like, it's not a perfect trade by any means. There are still a lot of angles to consider, but we did see the report last week that Utah is interested in DA. So if they are, and if they want to pair him with Donovan Mitchell and kind of reset their franchise a little bit, 1 pick is not that big a deal. 2 guys you just traded for and aren't necessarily a big part of your future, they're expendable as well. So
one thing I wonder about is, this doesn't satisfy the Nets' supposed demand that it includes an all-star level player, which is where I kind of feel like you'd have to swap Cam and McHale and that, and obviously make the numbers work around that. But I think you could kind of sell Brooklyn on Cam could be that guy, especially with more of an offensive, being a more of an option on offense. But you're not selling him on Cam Johnson being all-star level. But then this comes down to how much leverage does Brooklyn really have, or do they have to just take what's the best offer from KD's preferred destination? You're not going to get better than those picks and everything. So.
And in my defense, I did this on, what was this, Thursday or Friday before the thing about they want a certified all-star in the trade became public. So this trade is a few days old.
Which, I mean, even though you want something like that, that's not to say that you wouldn't settle if you feel like your back's against the wall and you kind of just have to do something.
Right. I want an NBA 10-day contract, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
So,
I wanted $1 million when they approached me about PHNX. I took significantly less.
Same.
So.
Hey, guys, I have something for you.
Oh,
What's
boy.
that,
Here we go.
Train Machine Tuesday.
I hate
Machine
all of
Tuesday.
you.
Train Machine Tuesday.
Okay, that's enough.
You made my Tuesday, Emma. Thank you.
Got you.
enough of
Got
that.
you. Oh, I can play it one more time, Lindsay.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Play it again, Emma.
no.
Do you guys like my new shoes?
Play it again,
Train
Emma.
Machine Tuesday. Train Machine Tuesday. Train Machine Tuesday.
I like how the math doesn't even match up with the second Trade Machine
No.
Tuesday. Like the music just goes off kilter.
Hey,
a little
okay,
bit.
I did it in 5 minutes, Gerald.
No,
okay?
no, you're
The
fine,
greatest
Emma.
5 minutes of work you've ever put in at PHNX.
You
Thank
aren't wrong.
You know what? You know what I think we need to do?
Hmm.
I think Emma should have to do an OG's ad read roulette.
Should she?
Yeah.
We're just going to make her do that today?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we
Lindsay's
should.
vindictive. She wants her
Lindsay,
revenge right
I'm turning
now.
in my revenge
Read.
fast.
How about I do it as Emma?
what?
Can you?
I can try.
Oh, boy.
Can you?
Why not?
Oh, dear.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. I'll put it on
these
you.
are- Do you want me? Do you want help? Do you want me
Sure,
to give you things?
sure.
You have to add in that's hot.
Okay.
That's hot.
100%. That's an Emma thing. Everything is hot right now.
Okay. So, Okogie just launched their first ever limited edition seasonal flavor pina colada. That's hot. A perfect pineapple and creamy coconut blend. Check out Okogie's online, ogsbrands.com, on Instagram at ogsbrands. You can find their products that they're fire at your local dispensary. Must be 21 years or older to purchase, and I swear I am.
That's the best part.
The last part, I swear.
Oh,
Hey, no one needs to know my age.
That is
She's
so funny.
42, everybody, if you're asking.
Brother?
Oh my
I hope that
God.
wasn't
Brother.
too bad over
Brother?
there.
42.
Emma.
All right. Any final thoughts on that trade? Because
bet
I know we got a little derailed.
I bet Emma didn't expect to be impersonated today.
No,
Definitely
but
not.
okay. Can I make a
Are
critique?
you on mic? Okay,
I am.
Okay,
Yeah. I do. Come on.
Oh, I'm used to working with Shane here. I gotta ask these things. So.
I'm prepared. Not
All
saying Shane isn't. Love you, Shane. Miss you. Wish you were here. But you missed the stumble on the words. I can't read that well.
That's true. I did miss the stumble on the words. I'm sorry.
My bad.
My bad.
Is that how I
man.
sound,
No.
guys?
No.
No.
Not really. Not at all.
It's not like I workshop my Emma
was-
impression.
it was a
before
valiant
the
effort
show.
on the fly.
Any final thoughts?
Can we just get the damn thing done?
this
include
whole
whoever you
trade?
have to.
I'm tired of doing math on potential trades. I would like to just see one come through and see if it works.
Can we
That's
just
why I'm hoping today is our final Trade Machine Tuesday.
can
Please, God.
I just pick up the phone and call Danny Ainge and go, "You bastard, you owe us for 92-93 and not guarding Paxson. So just send Donovan Mitchell to Brooklyn already."
From my phone. The
Of
audacity.
course. I ain't calling it from my own. I know better than that.
Oh, boy.
Come on, just let's get this over with. I don't want to we're going to be back here tomorrow talking about this, I know, but I'd really
Yeah.
prefer not to.
I would like some clarity just so we can know what the Suns are working with moving forward, because we've talked about this, but so many of the best free agents are off the board.
Yeah.
The only MLE guys that are on my list for all the positions that are still out there, I think like Thomas Bryant and Dennis Schroeder, both of whom come with different risks. And I just don't, it's going to be tough to build the rest of this roster unless you're able to also be active in another trade, which we can get into other trades after. But
I just keep looking at Thomas Bryant and going, why? Why is he still sitting out there? Is there some kind of
the injury thing?
Well, that too, but I also wonder if there's some kind of wink, wink. If this KD thing goes down, we're gonna need a center.
It could be.
We'll give you that full.
Why would they do that? Why would he still be out there?
Why? Let's think about it. That's
Bless
the
his
question
heart. That was like
that
the
everybody's
greatest
asking.
thing that has come from free agency thus
It
far.
was.
And he knew what he was doing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he was
Like
playing
low key, if we get KD, that still might be like in the running for the top moment of free agents.
He had them all on the edge of their seats. It's never been that silent on first take in its
It was
entire
so
history.
funny. Plus the memes that we got from it, and just oh my god, bless his heart.
Maybe I'll shave and do my own version
Of Windy.
Of Windy.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you as always. As a reminder, we want you to stay safe and healthy, especially if you are joining us out at Summer League this upcoming weekend. COVID-19 vaccines are free for everyone 5 and older. Those 12 and older are also now eligible for a booster. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location near you. We all know things are getting a little spicier around the valley as of late with this. So just a reminder to all of you out there listening, please stay safe and healthy. Protect your loved ones and your community. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter at LinseySmithAZ. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget, and you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Let's see if I can do this. Hold on.
Oh God. What's happening?
Spalding! Get the KD deal done already. Ahoy, hoy.
PHNX though, Linsey, Gerald, Espo. Saw past the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always rep the family. Rally in the valley like Dan G, no plan B. Always on the job, my team move like the mob.